Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 2021 Mapper Choice Awards for Osu Sander. My name's Kisada, and today I'm joined by none other than Half Slashed, former BN and head map pooler of Corsace for many years. Welcome, Half Slash. How are you doing today?
Good morning, everyone. Kisada, I am doing great. I'm ready to talk about some maps. I'm sure there's quite a few exciting results here from 2021 MCA. Glad to be back on the stream.
Great. That's absolutely great. If there's anybody who's qualified to speak about a map showcase, it is you. You have done this so many times. One thing I want to go over before we get right into it is I want to review the categories we have this year. Just a quick overview. So for today in Standard, we're going to be going over several map categories. We have Vanilla, Unorthodox, Gimmick, Complex Rhythm Swing, Small Circles, Slider Tech, Marathon, Hitsounding, IBPM/Alternator, Collab, and the Grand Award to top it all off. But that'll be later on. For our user categories, we will be having Outstanding Contributor, Most Promising, Modder, Mapper, Hitsounder, and the User Grand Award itself. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. For our first category, we have, for mapping, it is Vanilla. And in third place, we have a tie, actually. Our first map is going to be Yorishika Spring Thief, hosted by Moicho. This is actually a collab between three different mappers, Moicho, Seros, and Ryusei Aika. The map itself was ranked in early 2021, February. It's a very clean standard map, got great hit sounding by Moicho. And it's got a very good custom video. Really cool stuff. Anything?
Yeah, looks like there's a nice corgi there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see those three mappers. So one of them I know has been an up-and-coming one, Seros. I've seen a map out of him. He seemed like some promising talent started to appear last year, actually, in 2021, 2020, something like that. Ryusei Aika kind of became a mainstay starting in like 2019, I think is when a lot of his stuff really started to get popular. And Moiko's been around a long time. So
yeah, she's been in the scene for years.
Yeah.
But another thing that's really interesting about all three of these mappers is they don't really have a particularly set style themselves. They like to vary their style depending on the song choice, which is really interesting. I find that to be a very good it's a very good attribute for a mapper. It makes it a lot more interesting to see their maps when they don't have like a specific set style that they do.
Yeah, because it's like, especially with like someone like Ryusei Aika. Ryusei Aika, you know, is known for being like one of the pretty much like our generation's like Skystar in terms of breadth of maps that they can put out. So you have some really weird like limit pushing like beastly gimmick maps, and then you have like the most comfortable like you know, type of map, and this sort of style kind of reflects that, right? So
yeah,
the vanilla category
for sure. This is something a bit kind of not in his normal wheelhouse. I mean, he's done it before, but like you typically see like the more like hype kind of unusual styles from him.
Yeah. Mocho, also somewhat versatile, because she will map stuff like this, Yorishika, right? Like your gentle, like anime songs, just chill maps, and also kind of map like some of the more like, you know, rhythm game oriented stuff. I've seen some mem songs from her, so a lot of that. Mostly lots of very good at the vanilla stuff in general, though. I think they're relatively engaging while being very simple and accessible. So definitely a favorite for people who are looking for a calming experience while playing a map.
Absolutely. That's something she's been focusing a lot on lately, is this sort of style, as opposed to like some of the other techier stuff she had done in the past. All right, well, anyways, with that, we can get on to our next map. It is also third place in this category, and it is Shikamori Kaiko Kigurumi Sungeki, and this is map by Mirage. Now, this map actually was featured in OWC 2020, the grand finals. It was the HD2. So you know right here, this has like the pop-up hype factor right here. This is it's a pretty jump-heavy map. It's got lots of snappy, hard angle changes and some pretty, good-sized jumps in it. It's also AR8, as befitting a HD2. And it's pretty similar to a lot of Mirage maps that he's done in the past. It's very much within his own style.
Yeah, this is actually really interesting because it kind of signals like a big tone shift that's happened in very recent years with the mapping community. Because something that was AR8, despite no matter how it was mapped, tend to be reserved for like the gimmicky stuff for the longest time, especially like going back to like 2014, 15, 16. It wasn't until like 2020, 2021 that AR8 started to really get normalized, and we started to see like, what I like to call VTuber AR8, where it's just like relatively simple jump maps, but mapped on AR8. So it's like, see this in vanilla is a bit interesting if you think of it that way, because it's like, it's kind of reflects how far we've come in a sense.
Yeah, you wouldn't normally think of like an AR8 map being like an actual vanilla map. You'd maybe typically think of that as more like a bit unorthodox that have like those diff settings, but it is mapped in a very otherwise standard way. It just happened to be that way because it ended up being an OWC.
Yeah, I think Mirage in general, Mirage has a lot of inspiration from both Elvis and Dallas. That tends to be reflected here. Both very, I wouldn't say Elvis is more on the unorthodox side, and then Dallas is more on the, people love to play Dallas sorts of jumps. So that sort of style is kind of what we see here, rather than the, Elvis style that Mirage tended to copy in 2019. So it's definitely quite comforting for most people.
Speaking of Elvis, there's actually an Elvis Mirage collab on this that's kind of spicy. You can check that out as well if you're interested after seeing this map. It's quite something, to say the least. It also has an very interesting storyboard.
Yeah, definitely would check that out, but definitely not vanilla.
Yeah, that one is definitely not in this category. Alright,
also, one other thing I want to add here on the difficulty name. It's a reference to a previous map that looks similar to this, known as Maze of Vapor. So, just adding that.
Well, I didn't even know that. Thank you for that. Alright, well, anyways, getting into second place now, we have Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance, and this was mapped by Moth. Now, this is, it's pretty interesting for this category, to say the least. Got a very interesting kind of alti section at the start here, where it gets like it's mapped in 1/6 actually, and then it transforms into a more conventional Moth style map.
Yeah, this is interesting to see here, and it's again, I think this is our second OWC map already. Believe this was a OWC 2021 round of 16 tiebreaker. So
yes, I believe so.
Or was it 32, or was it 2020? I can't remember. Probably 2020, from judging by the dates. Yeah, it's kind of cool to see this. This is a type of song that has like two distinct parts to it, and it has like this nice calm like build up, and then it gets and it's got some stuff going on later. But My Chemical Romance, it's pretty straightforward, like alt rock sort of song. Nothing too crazy there.
Yeah, for sure. got some very interesting slider shapes here, but it's way more conventional after the song really kicks in. So
yeah, one thing for sure is a lot of the more conventional stuff tends to hover between 170 and 200 BPM, and so a lot of the stuff that actually makes its way into vanilla tends to be around that. And that's pretty much most of the song, 194. As we can start to see with some of these jump patterns, like nothing too crazy, no crazy stream, nothing weird in terms of sliders, just some relatively simple patterning.
Yeah, for sure. This is such a classic song to me as well. Like I'm really happy that Moth went out and mapped this. This is a great choice. Really brings back the old days.
I remember this was received really well too when it was put out for OWC 2020. People love to see Western music in general. Totally not foreshadowing. But yeah, it is. Western music tends to get a lot of attraction from the masses because a lot of players are from the Western world, a lot of the more vocal ones anyway. So they tend to vocally share their appreciation when people actually map songs with lyrics that they can actually understand.
Yeah. Another thing is this actually placed pretty decently well in Community Choice 2021. For the mapper side, it placed around 16th, I believe. And for the community at large, it came in a bit lower. It was in the 20s, but it was already very well received by the community. Alright, well anyways, getting on to our first place entry in the vanilla category. We have Sean Martin with Diva, and this is a map by OLC. This is a jazz song. This came in 10th place for Community Choice 2021 for mappers, so it's already very high received by mappers. I think my favorite thing about this map and sort of OLC maps in general is, he maps a lot of jazz. A lot of jazz has, very complex rhythms. And OLC approaches these sorts of songs in he maps in a very approachable way. Like, you could have something that is way more difficult on this, but it's something that can be enjoyed by a lot of people as a result, and players.
Yeah, when I think of something like jazz, I definitely think of that as like, the undefined horizon, which really just supports a lot of crazy things, because I'm listening to this song and I'm like, whoa, you can do some really crazy stuff with like, starts and stops and pauses and slider velocities and this and that.
Exactly.
But this is kind of made to be enjoyed by the masses, and it still reflects the song pretty well. It's a very tasteful execution, I'd say.
Yes, his style works really well on this. You've got really good flow in this, lots of great jump patterns, and the way he makes these so approachable is with his rhythm choice. His rhythm choice on this and how he chooses to map these complex rhythms is so good for jazz.
Yeah, it's really cool. Also, just like the aesthetic is something that, this aesthetic has been quite popular in 2021 especially, and perhaps even in 2022, but we're talking about 2021 here. But the thing is, it's still like very, like, it's just mapped in a more gentle way, because it's like, I'd say that the aesthetic can kind of vary in a lot of different senses, but it's about like what's actually adding the difficulty to the map here. And it's just like, if you look at the mechanics, it's a lot of triangle jumps, circular flow stuff, and very simple streams. So that's kind of what keeps it vanilla, despite this aesthetic being typically associated with some of the more techy, like rhythm oriented stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
So I have one fun fact here. I had the pleasure of meeting the OLC himself at COE 2022.
Oh,
and
he was there?
And he had the background of this on his tablet cover. That was how you knew it was him, right? That and, of course, the Dorkata slider schematic, but we don't talk about that.
A very famous Osu slider.
Yeah.
Right, well, that in mind, we can get on to our next category, and this time we're going to go something completely opposite from vanilla. We're going to go straight into the unorthodox gimmick category. In third place, by Ryusei Aika, we have Otto's Usewa. This was the most favorited map in 2021 by players, by far. It also came in 7th in community choice for the players. And as you can already tell, the unorthodoxness or gimmick of this is it's got a lot of very straight sliders in it. With different velocities, all sorts of different angles. The patterning is just totally built around straight sliders. Up until the end, in the Kiai, he starts to throw around a couple more patterns and shapes, but overall, that's what this map is built on.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because this is what I would say a properly executed take on restriction mapping or limit mapping, concept mapping. You've heard it all the same. Something that Hollow Wings has kind of pioneered since 2015, 2016. But not many people can actually pull this sort of thing off in a way that really depicts the song, even though we've seen like maps of the similar style being glorified, especially in 2017 with stuff like Impulse and Reloaded getting a lot of attention. But this one takes it to a whole new level, and it's really unique in terms of experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just like I said, it's mostly, it's got that one restriction, but he mixes it up sometimes.
Yeah, it really, the whole limit mapping sort of thing is all about, you take the restriction, and it's not about what you can't do, but rather what you can do despite it.
Yeah, pushing it as far as you can.
Yeah, and I think Aika did an amazing job here. This map is also, as far as a gameplay sort of thing, we have seen this in Course Face Close 2021 as a hard rock pick. Yes, that's right. Some of these players had to play these, crazy sliders with hard rock.
That is very spicy. This is not look easy on hard rock.
Yeah, well, I mean, when considering the matchup that this was played in was some, Flying Tuna versus Utami, for any of you who know prominent players, that is, it was definitely a sight to watch, especially the ending, so.
Absolutely. Great entry by our man, Ryusei Aika. Anyway, alright. In second place, we have, by Scuff Domino, it's Sakura vs. Glacier Fall Park Remix. Okay, so this is a pretty interesting map, if we can see it. Oh, this is the beginning. Yeah, I forgot about the storyboard. So yeah, this has a storyboard. So what makes this so unorthodox? It's a tech map. Does a lot of, tech things with sliders, changing velocities, patterning, that sort of thing. But it's the way the sliders are constructed. You're going to see some very weird sliders here. Starting right about now. Yep, there you go. This map has some absolutely cracked slider design in it. And just in general, it's kind of built around these like concept sections. So you have they're mapped in a very distinct way according to the music and how it's repetitive in that section. And that's where the gimmickiness comes in.
Yeah, Scub Domino, kind of known actually for being really inspired with the concept-heavy stuff. This guy was a Handsome mentee in 2017 or 2018, can't remember. Very heavily inspired by Handsome's, take on concept mapping. And so he's been kind of playing around in that framework, and in this case, he's kind of replicating that sort of structure with based around these like sliderator sliders is what we call them. So this is what I would say is a pretty good. This was like the defining implementation of like tool-assisted mapping, right? So mapping tools came out. I don't know if it was 2020 or 2021, but this was the sort of thing that we saw a lot of. This is one of the maps that I think really defined the usage of these like sliderated and tool-made sliders. So
yeah, it's really kind of like a proof of concept for that whole thing. Just how far that you can actually push it and build a map and concept around that.
Yeah, even more surprising, this is rankable, right? So it's just like being able to do this like crazy stuff with slider point manipulation and still being able to rank it is a pretty good feat.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those sliders, like especially the ones at the beginning with the giant, whooshing action, is not something you would typically think would be rankable.
Yeah, though I also appreciate the aesthetic on that personally, because it reminds me a lot of a Mirror's map named Keck, but that's just an aside there.
Yeah, I do really like the aesthetics as well as this map. It's very nice.
Yep.
All right, in first place for this category, we have it's Take. This is a map by YFBMP. It's Rishu Feet Choco. And this is another, it's actually a little bit, I don't want to say similar, but it's along the same line. So this is also like a slider, it's built a little bit off slider type principles, but as you can see. And it's just got all sorts of wacky elements in this. It's also got a very interesting video in the background that comes from, this song was actually in BMS of Fighters. So that's where the video comes from.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see this, especially since we just had the Scuff Domino map, because Scuff Domino also has a version of this that was uploaded later in the year. And this map, and even one of the mappers in the community named Cakebalt actually had a tournament because of, I think he based the name because of this song, so very influential in that regard. But kind of what makes this one so weird is just like the amount of snapping changes. This thing has like accelerations of snappings from like 1/4 to 1/5 to 1/6 to 1/7 to 1/8 to 1/9 and all this.
A lot of rhythm changes in this as well.
Yeah, YFBMP though, kind of known for making like these unorthodox maps in like kind of groundbreaking ways. So not too surprising to see him, but congratulations to him nonetheless. It's you definitely see a lot of different pattern variety. You can see a lot of the Fonzin style influence with the like Jubeat style like patterning, or rather like transition emphasis, I should say.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Definitely both in style and in terms of the execution of, just the patterning in general is very Fonzin reminiscent. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, who doesn't love some Bamboo, honestly?
It's such a fun song, too.
Yeah, we've actually, in OWC 2021, I believe we actually saw Rish again for a different mapper, but definitely known for making some of those weirder songs. So that's all I'll say on that.
Yep. All right, with the map ending, we can head on to our next category. Next up, we've got the complex rhythm and swing category. And starting off in third place, it's going to be a map by Down. It's Niwashi playing with Ruby. This map has... Okay, so this map was in OWC 2020 finals. It was the NM6. So it's definitely got that hype factor to start off with. This is a very fast-paced map. Lots of streams, lots of rhythm switch-ups, lots of space streams. It's also got some very cool hit sounds in here. Down used a couple very interesting hit sounding sample sets. And yeah, just the spacing changes in this map are really interesting. Just the way they used to represent intensity and just the difficulty needed in a tournament map. It's excellent. I love it.
Yeah, this is a cool one, and definitely like a crowd favorite, especially among song choices. There was a very popular loved version for a while, and so now we have like Down. I'm pretty sure wasn't very known before 2020, 2021, even though he did have a couple maps. But I think this is around when he started to really pop off and deliver these really high quality like rhythm maps to the point where we started to see some of his compositions. So he's now composing original songs, definitely inspired by artists such as Niwashi.
Yeah, definitely a noted composer as well, Down. So be sure to check out his songs as well. He's got some really good ones. And this is I mean, this song combination in this map is just so good.
Yeah, it's a nice one. Definitely going to be quite hard for a lot of people. So you're not warmed up, your fingers aren't warmed up. I recommend watching a player's replay instead.
For sure. All right. Well, with that out of the way, we can get on to our second place map. It's one you're going to be familiar with. You've already seen it before. In second place, we have, yet again, it's Take. We just talked about this map, and we just talked about how it had lots of rhythm switches in here. And that's why it's showing up in this category now, and people thought it was a great winner, great place for this as well.
Yep. Alright, well, we love Bamboo, but we've already kind of said what we need to say about this one.
Yeah, there's not really much more we can say about this, unfortunately. We've already kind of covered it pretty well. So, with that in mind, thank you, YFBMP, and we'll move on to our first place entry in this category. And this one's gonna definitely be a crowd favorite. Very well known. We have Devious Panda's Sputnik 3. And of course, this was in OWC 2020 Grand Finals in M6. Massive hype factor from this, just from that alone. It was second place in Community Choice 2021 for players, and it came in third for mappers as well. This is a really difficult polyrhythm map. Though I think that the way that Devious Panda handled the rhythm changes, the spacing in this, the rules of the spacing in this are pretty consistent. So even though this is a very difficult polyrhythm map, it's still handled in a pretty approachable way, I would say.
Yeah, I have to give Devious Panda props for this. So even throughout 2021, he was kind of like defining. He had a defining style for the year. But he also now essentially took a entire genre of songs and put out a style that is kind of replicable by others, to which really just broadens horizons. Like complex rhythm essentially now has a formula for like the first time in mapping history that many different kinds of people can replicate. This employs heavy usage of the conditioning and rhythm filtering techniques, where certain layers are kind of conditioned to be prioritized based off of previous patterning, and the very progressive song structure helps a lot with this one. So you combine that with the most popular aesthetic formula among mappers for the year, and you have this map.
Yes. So, sorry, I clicked off my stream actually. My bad.
Sure.
But yes, I completely agree. Devious Panda, huge influence on that category, and we're going to be talking for years about his influence on how people map the style of song. So,
yep,
really great by him.
I have a fun fact to add here on where the inspiration for this. So we started essentially. This came hot after Corsace Open 2020, where another space-themed, No Mod 6 in Grand Finals came around by Yasuo, right? Although, and that kind of like inspired DB's Panda to start looking for songs like this, these space-themed, wild, like rhythm gimmicky sorts of stuff. Although this one's a much more accessible version of the map I'm referencing, so props to you, Panda.
Absolutely. Great job, Panda. All right. With that in mind, let's head on to our next category. Next up, we've got the small circles category. And in third place, we have Hikagaku Moyo Silver Owl. This is a map by Squirrel Pascals.
Yeah, so this map is kind of like a sequel to another Squirrel Pascal's map known as Lazy Eye. And Squirrel Pascal's is known for a couple things. One, he maps a lot of stuff in that, what I used to call the impossible range, 110 BPM to 130 BPM. It's that BPM range where there isn't really a conventional formula for styles, unless like you're mapping an insane difficulty, pretty much. So this BPM range otherwise is usually taken by the more unorthodox, artsy sorts of mappers, ones like Squirrel Pascal's. This uses a lot of mechanically, this uses a lot of like cross-screen, like slow BPM jumps, so lots of emphasis on large motions across the playfield, which makes for a very engaging experience when you combine it with small circles. However, this is a really calm song for the most part, except for like large intensity gradients. Also something kind of unique to some of the more unorthodox mappers, where they tend to pick songs with huge variation in intensity because they think that is more reflective. So you can kind of see some of the weirder stuff with some of the way that the sliders are arranged in general, although this exact part doesn't. And more of the intensity spikes, I feel like we'd have to see most of the map. This is a marathon length map. I think it's like 6 or 7 minutes long, or it feels like that. So we kind of have to get
9 minutes long.
Okay, yeah, it's long, and then it's like we gotta get like 6 minutes in just to see like an intense part, so you can kind of see how the gradient goes. But do encourage, if you're interested in seeing these calm, like alternative rock sorts of like punks things, just check it out in the editor, maybe watch a replay. I don't know what the leaderboard looks like on this, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not have time to show this entire song. It's a little too long. But with that in mind, we're going to move on to our second place entry. And this is a map by Gust. It's Monet Zapresa no Hanataba. This is a song from the VN Sakura no Uta. This is CS 5.2. This has got some long circle only pattern sections. But other than that, it's a pretty standard map. It's very solid.
Yeah. I have, so this is a kind of, first of all, Gus is like a renowned small circle mapper, specifically CS5. He's been kind of mapping this style for many, many years, and really really took it into his own wheelhouse. But I'm also noticing that this is also a calm song like the previous one that we had. I think it's like, after the years, the mapping community has started to kind of realize that, small circles actually fit these calmer songs really well, because it's all about like this sort of like large expressive movements to represent like the tone shifts in the songs. So it's really cool to see that here as well.
For sure, small circles really do allow you to get more emphasis out of the patterns and specifically jump patterns that you use. So it does work really well for these songs that are a bit calmer, slower, because it really shows the contrast between the sections that you can achieve.
Yeah, it's really reliant on like the spacing between sliders in general too, because a lot of these songs just they're calm and they don't have density. So it's just a totally different experience. This is a real like song enjoyer experience.
And it is a great song, so this is a great map to enjoy this great song on.
We love that.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we can head on to our first place entry in Small Circles. This is going to be a map by Very Chill. This is Detox Unit to expand. Okay, so I actually have a lot to say about this map. I think this map is really cool. First off, as you can tell, it's CS9. And the way this is mapped is pretty unusual for a small circle map. It's actually pretty text in the way it's styled and the slider construction, which is, it's not only unusual for small circles in general, but it's virtually unheard of at something with this size. So it's really cool that you can have a map that demands this much precision out of your like sort of this textile, you know, flowing sliders, that sort of thing. Also, this map has a very interesting, I would say, concept behind it. So the map starts off in the bottom left, and as you play it, it kind of gradually moves to the top left, and then it kind of shifts over to the middle, goes down through it again, shifts over to the right, and then back up to the top right. You start in the top left and you end the map in the top right. It's a very interesting concept from Very Chill.
Yeah, it's really cool to see people playing around with these playfield limitation sorts of gimmicks in ways that are not super abrasive. So this playfield limitation has been one of like the earliest gimmicks, even down to that you know, LKS map that was uploaded on some multi, right? Like this has been being played around for a long time. So it's really cool to see this combined with small circles. I do know Very Chill has been prototyping this sort of concept even in ranked before. He had this like 3-star map that kind of like spiraled out, and like every circle was in a spiral. It was a lot more of a heavy-handed concept compared to this one. So I think he's kind of been building upon that to deliver something like this, where it's like you're just using the whole playfield in a, you know, unexpected way that fits the song intensity really well.
Yeah, this is definitely, like, if his past maps had been building towards something, I definitely feel that this is the peak of the conceptualness that he was trying to achieve in the past with these sorts of small circle maps. It's definitely really cool to see.
Yeah, props to Very Chill for kind of keeping it figuring out how to keep it fresh while reflecting the song like this.
Absolutely. All right, with that in mind, we can head on to our next category. And this category is going to be a fan favorite, I expect, because it is the slider tech category. And in third place, we have a map we have already seen as well. It's Scub Domino's Glacier Fall yet again. And it's pretty obvious why it belongs in this category, just the way he's constructed all of his sliders. Lots of playing around with slider velocity. Pretty standard tech concepts, just executed in a pretty unorthodox way for this category.
Yeah, this is a good submission for ilovetechmaps.com. That is an actual URL, by the way. But we've kind of talked about this one already, so...
Yep, we have. So we're not gonna dwell on it. Alright, thank you again, Scub Domino, for Glacier Fall. Anyways, in second place, we have, this is a very interesting map. It's a map by Sharu. If we could move on to the next one.
I mean, for now we're just going to watch the drop again. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a pretty good drop.
Yeah. Sakura Burst is cool, you know. Still remember when Sakura Burst in general was, you know, not very well covered. So we used to see, for example, like I remember like Shern like was one of the pioneers of like actually ranking Sakura Burst music well before they were an FA. So.
You know, Scout has also already mapped a pretty decently known Sakura Burst map. Cherry Blossoms. I forget the rest of the name, but it was an Aspire map. It was something that was pretty different from this, but it was still very unorthodox. It had a very interesting gimmick to it.
Gotta love the lineages there. Alright, so still waiting on that number 2 transition.
Alright, here we go. So, in second place, we have a map by Shara. It's called Fractal Flux. This was 7th place for Community Choice 2021 for mappers, and the first thing you're really going to notice about this, I think, is the long slider construction, which is a bit unorthodox in its styling in this. It lends to very striking visuals as a result.
Yeah, so Sharu's been kind of trying to master this style for a while, and it looks like he has delivered. Fractal is one of those artists that has these like, you know, neuro-funky or I don't know, wubby sorts of songs that have been kind of taken advantage by many different tech mappers in the past. So Sharu giving his crack at it, it seems like he's pulled off a pretty well executed version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. This has got some pretty cracked slider designs in it, for sure.
I feel like this has a lot of the vibes of, you know, Czar maps, right? So Czar kind of
yeah, it does remind you of that, for sure.
Yeah, he's kind of like moved some of the slider designs towards a much more freeform graffiti art style, I think is what I've heard it referred to as. And so this is kind of Sharu's take on that, combining it with like some of the previous like more rigid blanketing concepts. So it's also just like, it is an evolution in terms of how these have been designed, because previous like slider designs have been a lot more focused on, you know, rigid, everything blankets one another. There's a lot of parallelism, and it just felt a lot more rigid. This one's a lot more freeform in terms of designs used.
Yeah, with a lot of tech maps, you have like a very particular style of pattern construction. It's got a very, how should I say, it's got like a very standard method of constructing it, but this is just way more freeform.
Yeah, I will say the freeformness definitely does not make it any less planned. This is kind of like, it looks like, oh yeah, this is doing all these like wacky things, but it's more of to maintain like coherence with like the design principles that these mappers tend to use. Yeah. It is extremely time consuming, making sure every little node creates the exact shape to conform to that. And just balancing negative space and all of that. So, you know, props to you on this one, Char.
Absolutely. Great entry. Anyways, moving on to first place now, we have a map by AK74, and it's Ryuseigun by Camellia. This is a very interesting tech map. This came in second place for Community Choice 2021 for mappers, so it's already pretty popular with the mapping crowd. Very heavy pattern-based tech map. Something that's really interesting to me about this is, particularly for the longer sliders, a lot of them emphasize more straight lines and sharp angle changes, as opposed to like a tech style where you have more, you know, flowing kind of curvy sliders, like the one we just saw. So this is a very contrasting entry to our second place winner.
Yeah, it's really cool to see like just such a different variation in terms of design here. This one actually reminds me more of like some of the like the Ameth Riano sorts of shapes, because I'm seeing a lot of like J style sliders and designs kind of patterning off of that, combined with like yeah, I don't know. The design feels similar. It's hard to explain.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it definitely kind of reminds you of that style.
Yeah, and there's also just a lot more like just conventional stuff like thrown throughout. So it's very clear that these like more like J-hook based, U-shaped sorts of sliders are kind of meant for contrast with the more like conventional patterning, blanket based, equidistance, symmetry, etc.
Yes, absolutely. That was a great way of putting it.
Yeah. From a gameplay perspective, this one has quite a few interesting things. It's not all about the sliders too. There's a lot of like space triple, double sort of stuff, cut doubles, etc. It's just a very complete experience from the play side. It's there's a particular tech player who won a community choice badge that really loved this and been like singing its praises, saying it's like the greatest map of 2021 and all that stuff. So I'm sure he's very happy to see that here.
I'm sure he would be. Alright, well, with that in mind, we can move on to our next category. And coming up now, we're going to move into Marathon. So in third place, we have a map you may know. Pretty famous at this point. This is Yo RPG, hosted by Zelk. Mapped by both Zelk, Toybot, Halgo, and Devious Panda. It's also got a custom hit sound set by Azer, which is very good. This was, of course, the OWC 2021 Grand Finals tiebreaker.
Yeah,
I think...
motherboards. That's all. Sorry, no, all I gotta say is motherboards.
Motherboards? Oh,
yes,
yeah, through the background is a motherboard, yeah.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
It took me a second to grasp that, actually. So, but yeah, this is very interesting. You have some of what you would call, like, I guess, the PIs in this, anchored by Toybot. He handles those tech parts pretty well. I think the most interesting thing to me, though, about this is you have a couple WUB sections that are anchored by Halgo and Devious Panda, and Halgo gets to go really styling that and really show off his particular brand of tech styling in this, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I think this song, this is like one of those song carry ones, but in a way that like accentuates the personalities of the mappers, right? It's like you start off with this like, very stream dense stuff, and it's just like, you know anything about Zelk, like this is exactly the stuff he loves to play. So very well executed stuff in that regard. Toybot, kind of known for mapping like these like hardcore EDM style stuff, really killing it on this like quote-unquote filler sections that are just hardcore based all the way through. Halgo, known for this like tech stuff, having low BPM stuff so he can do the quote-unquote anti-player patterning with like the crazy weird sliders as well. Devious Panda on the rhythm part with a lot of those like space stream, cut stream sorts of stuff, finishing it off with like the speedier section by both Toybot and Zelk. Lots of good stuff here. Really good product.
Yeah, I love this part right here. You've got a lot of the slider streams in here. It's not something you would typically expect out of like a OWC like tech map, but it's really cool that they got a chance to put stuff like that in here.
Yeah, there's just like this whole thing just was it was really well done. Like as far as like for tournaments, I think most people would consider this the best like tiebreaker of the year. And this was coming hot off the heels of Core States Open 2021, which had a pretty cool map in its own right. But yeah, that's it's a lot of stuff going on here. Good stuff.
Absolutely. So thank you to Zelk, Toybot, Halgo, and Devious Panda for our third place entry. And in second place in the marathon category, we have a map by OLC, and it is Ghost Note Shrill Tones. So this is another, jazz, well, it's got some funk in it as well from OLC. And again, I hit on this earlier, but the thing I love most about OLC is that just the way he makes these sorts of songs so approachable. Like the rhythm in these is definitely you could do some very hard stuff, but he manages to make it work.
Yeah, this one has more spacing and complexity than the previous one for sure. A lot more in line
definitely.
with what, like, if I was trying to stereotype this type of song, this is a lot more in line with what I would expect. But it's still patterns that you'd recognize, right? It's got the the OLC TM aesthetic, and then you have like patterns you've seen before, but they just complement the style of song really well. So nothing too crazy. You play these types of like lower BPM sorts of maps, and you pull this up, you'll be right at home.
I would also say that this is a bit more stylistically diverse than the previous entry we saw from him, Mediba. Like, that map is definitely, you could say, a bit more standard than this. This has a lot more different types of patterns that he put in here, and it's great to see.
Yeah, I really like the, I think I like the accelerating streams and some of those, like, big cuts, right, where you just have, like, they're going almost, like, half screen. That stuff is really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are awesome.
I also like, I also find the wiggles, especially in this part, really charming. Just like having those like jazz wiggles, it makes it gives me a warm feeling on the inside.
Yeah, really nice way to map that part of the song right there. Just a little aesthetic touch that really kind of pushes it over the edge.
Yep.
Really makes you feel the music. Anything else you want to add about this half lap?
No, I think I'm good. Always observe traffic rules. This background's a good indicator that traffic markings are important, and those lights are there to tell you things. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't want to get run over by a bus.
Yeah.
Alright, well with that in mind, we can move on to our first place entry in this category. And it is another map by OLC. For first place, we have King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Robot Stop, Red Light VIP. And of course, this showed up in OWC 2021. This was the round of 16 tiebreaker. This is very stylistically diverse. Probably the most stylistically diverse map we've seen from OLC right now. It's got lots of, these circle-only jump sections, got lots of interesting slider, a little bit of slider tech, we've got lots of streams, we've got even accelerating streams, everything. He tossed the whole kitchen sink in here. That's really great for just a OWC tiebreaker in general. This is a very good tournament map, and I think that really connected with people when they voted for this.
Yeah, this pick was destined for greatness with the song choice, I will say. Western songs are highly repetitive, and the thing about highly repetitive maps is when you put a mapper like OLC out there, he knows exactly what to do with it. Highly repetitive maps offer pretty much the greatest room for creativity in patterning. And he really takes it to the different levels. You hear these like guitar riffs that are just like 1-2s, right? Much less diverse mappers would just spam, the classic NC 1-2, like horizontal, maybe even vertical jumps, like the PP jumps, the way they like to call them.
Yeah.
OLC, he took the comboing and he just does different jump patterns like we're seeing here. Before, it was pretty much just like a ladder with different, with varying spacing, and before that, it was just kind of like your standard triangle filler. Here, it was like more distinct groupings. There's a lot of different variety, and he's taking advantage of the full range of pattern possibilities for those sounds. I think he really hit it out of the park on this one. But for me, my favorite part is not these jump patterns particularly. It's actually like the way he represents some of these streams. Like there's one where he's got this like long stream that's like 2 measures long. Basically a stack, and it just fits so well with the guitar. I don't know if we're gonna have the time to see it, but it just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, it feels a bit like you're getting the kaleidoscope experience just playing this. Just all the, it's a great little map. One thing I want to mention though, OLC very nearly swept this category. He has the first and second place and very nearly got the third place as well. Hats off to OLC for rocking the marathon category. He really was a dominant force in this sort of length of map last year.
Yeah, something I didn't get to mention in some of the previous entries is OLC is like the marathon guy, right? He does not usually do spreads, so this sort of length is his range of choice.
Well, he definitely owned it this year. That is for sure.
Yeah, I could talk about this map longer, but all I have to say is pretty much any sort of thing here, whether it be the jumps, the streams, the sliders, all of them very executed very well. Very well correlated to the sounds that they're mapping. Just check this one out. It's a good one.
Yep, it is great. Be sure to check it out. All right, we can move on to our next category. And next up, we have the Hitsounding category. And in third place, hosted by Skystar, we have Dear My Waker. So this was mapped by Skystar Captain 1 and Nathan, but the hit sounds themselves are by TTMNZK. And my god, did he pop off on this. This has a very, very good sample set of hit sounds that are used in this. It's got a lot of key sounds, so the piano is key sounded, as well as the violin in some parts, and he even went ahead and added some violins to parts that didn't have it. Yes, this map has additive hit sounds as well. It is absolutely stunning. I love the hit sounding in this map. It is so good.
Yeah, that's props then, because additive hit sounding is one of those things that I feel like it's almost a lost art. A lot of the hit sounding we've kind of been doing has been like focusing on just feedback-oriented hit sound, basically matching what you hear in the song. But as we know, like songs can be interpreted in lots of different ways. Sometimes certain things that don't explicitly have a sound, you map them anyways. Hit sounds really add to that. So having hit sounds that add to the experience to help those rhythms be more intelligible to players is something really nice. So really love hearing that for this.
For sure. Another thing I forgot to mention was the guitar in this. There's actually parts in this where like the timbre of the guitar, the hit sounds they use for it, like it causes it to reverb and echo way more. It's so cool how it changes the actual effect of what you hear in the song itself.
Yeah. I particularly like the snare like hit normal, right? Contrast and how it contrasts with the tom drums. It sounds kind of like the drum hit clap, so that's kind of what the tom drum tends to represent. I think this is a custom sample though. So
yeah, this is pretty much all custom samples, I believe. But it is amazing. This also has a very good storyboard, so definitely you should check this map out if you haven't seen it. It is amazing for its technical qualities, at the very least. Alright, with that in mind, we can move on to our second place entry, and it's a map you've already seen before, but it deserves to be in this category nonetheless. We have RPG, yet again, hosted by Zeld. I touched on this very briefly when we saw it earlier, but this has a custom hit sounding done by Azer. One of the things I really like about this, we may not get to see it due to time, but especially it's in the part that Toybot anchors. Azer added like this sort of reverby effect to the electronic notes he key sounded it, and it turns it into this really interesting. It gives this really interesting feel to it. It makes it so echoey, and it just totally changes the whole way the song sounds. It's really quite amazing to hear.
Azer isn't so great, are you kidding me? No, these key sounds are out of this world. Like, I don't know how he ends up like finding the time to like put out these high quality key sounds on some of these like crazy tiebreakers for OWC, but props to him on that. It's always a pleasure because I know it's like, and you can tell that there's like 20 hours of work in these. So
yeah, it's this part right here. Like if you listen to the song, like just in the song select screen, it doesn't sound like this at all. that echoey effect is like totally added by Izer. I love it.
Yeah, this was kind of one of those like, oh yeah, this definitely Pog Factor hit sounds. Like this is, we love to hear these from time to time.
Absolutely. So thank you, Azer, for that. All right, well, getting into the first place for our hit sounding entry, we have some map by Devious Panda, but the hit sounding is by Scub Domino, and it's Jack the Ripper, UK Rampage. So this has a very cool piano key sounding layer to it. Actually, the hit sounding itself for this was done by two people. So Scub Domino did the key sounding for this, and then Devious Panda went ahead and did the more percussive parts of the hit sounding, which is really interesting how they ended up sort of collabing together on this. Because normally, like, for a lot of these, like, guest spot hit sounding maps, you have a single person doing it, but it's really interesting to see them collab on this, actually.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty interesting, especially when you consider their backgrounds, right? So, Devious Panda, much more pure mapper. Like, I don't know if he has much musical experience. So the drum focus probably comes pretty naturally to him as a mapper, since tends to be what people tend to map most of their rhythms to. Scub Domino, though, before joining Osu, he has experience doing in the Black MIDI community, so he's very familiar with the sorts of like non-percussive, correlating sounds to samples and such. So it's really nice to see them both like kind of fuse their experiences to create this experience here.
Very interesting. I've never heard of that before. Black MIDI community? What's that?
I don't particularly remember. I'd have to ask Scub on it. It's definitely some sort of like it feels like composition related though. I just can't remember all the details. I just know that he was involved in it.
Gotcha. And of course, Scub Domino is a perennial winner and entrant in this category, hit sounding. He's always been an incredible hit sounder and key sounder, and we love to see him once again. So hats off to you, Scub Domino, for winning the hit sounding category again this year, just like last year. All right, well, with that in mind, we can move on to our next category, and it is the high BPM Alternator category. And in third place, we have a map by Iljaz. It's Desert Theater by Kiko Hana. So this was actually a mapping contest map. It's not like your normal, just submitted map. Iljaz went ahead and submitted this to Newspaper Cup 2021. And he won it. This was the first place entry for that contest. It also featured in OWC 2021 as in the finals as the HT1 pick. Other than that, it's very Iljaz. It's very Felipe sort of inspired. It's got these sorts of extensive use of these like sort of wacky slider shapes, I would call it, to represent sounds in the vocals that are paired together. You got very, just snappy aim in general with lots of hard angle changes used for, just representing the tension, various tension in the song. And of course, the song itself is just an absolute banger.
Yeah. So that's a good thing you mentioned the OWC usage, because I was about to say it's very rare, especially like to have these maps, these like contests to like maps actually also be valuable for play as well, like particularly known for it. So props to Iljaz. His style, I'd say, is quite balanced too. And it's one of the other dominant styles in 2021. We talked about the Devious Panda one, and I'd say the Iljaz sort of style is definitely an accompanying style. Probably started to gain more traction towards the end of the year, from what I've gauged. So good. It's really cool to see this year.
Absolutely. Thank you to Iljaz for winning, or for the third place entry, not winning, in our high BPM Alternator category. So with that in mind, we can move on to our second place entry, which was also a mapping contest map. This is Helia's Odo by Otto. This was a map that was submitted to PDC 2021 for the vocal category. It came in second. It didn't win. The first place map was actually by Kuyusu. It also ranked very highly in the community choice. Both for players and mappers. I believe it was 5th for mappers. I don't remember its exact position for the community, but I think it was top 30. So this was already a very popular map in 2020. And it's a very alt-heavy map. It's also got quite a bit of techie sort of sliders as well.
Yeah, I'd say this is an interesting one, especially on the song choice. I'm getting kind of like rail vibes from some of these, especially some of the more recent stuff. But Otto's a very popular artist in 2021, it seems, and even into present. So people are kind of always excited to see songs from them.
This was kind of her pop-off year. The year she really hit it big on Osu.
Yeah. As far as the actual style, it's definitely a lot more of the bit like faster jumps sort of like in terms of gameplay. So definitely a very popular thing, especially among mappers. So yeah, it's got its place here for sure.
Yeah, this was on the very hard end of the maps for this contest. Most of the maps were a lot easier than this. And I really like the choice that Helia made to go this difficult. I think it reflects the intensity and song very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of mastery to kind of get to this point, especially when you consider, like I said, mentioned it before, but like 110, 130-ish BPM is kind of like pretty much undiscovered territory for a lot of people. So to see, especially on the extra stages, so it's quite a bit of mastery to kind of make something, that's all very solid at this point. So props to you, Helia.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for our second place entry, Helia. Alright, in first place for the high BPM and the Alternator category, our winner, we have a map by Moth. It's Polka Dot Stingray of Hoshimai. And it is... I'm sure you have a lot to say about this one, Half Slash.
Oh yeah, I got things to say about this one. Alright. So, this was one of, I gotta say, probably one of the best songs I have heard this year.
It is a banger, for sure.
I don't know, like, the song, the background, it all kind of came together. As far as the high BPM sort of stuff, this really pushes that. So this is one of those, like, usually these types of songs, like, that I associate with this, I think this is, like, the 140, 160 BPM range. This one actually is, like, a little bit above at, like, 165. And it has these, like, snares, so it's, like, you can tell it's, like, really almost the equivalent of, like, 310 BPM a lot of the time. This has very interesting patterns, especially as far as XL and decel. And yeah, it's OWC 2021 semifinals, no mod 3 or 4, or was it 2020? I can't remember, but banger.
Yeah, it also placed pretty highly in the community choice for mappers as well. It came in 9th, actually. So it was already very popular with mappers before NCA even started.
Yeah, Moth is one of those mappers that he's got a pretty accessible style when it comes to this sort of range. It feels like for a while it's like, okay, you can have the you can have the Monstrata like Hex Grid, and then or you could go Elvis if you can pull that off, or you could be like one of those weirdos like me. But Moth has made something pretty accessible to most mappers, so really cool to see that.
For sure, like high BPM has kind of become like his bread and butter. He's got a lot of maps in that style. Alright, well, thank you to Moth for our first place entry in high BPM Alternator. With that in mind, we can move on to our collab category. And in third place, we have another mapping contest map. Well, technically, this was a mapping storyboard and song contest, but it is My Love. It is hosted by Mao, and it was mapped by Real Lazy, Devious Panda, and Mao. So this was for the My Love contest. This came in second place for the community vote aspect for it, and it came in first place overall for the overall judge, music judge, and mapper judge aspect of it.
Yeah. So this is definitely one of those defining this is the sort of thing that kind of really is a temperature check on where the community's at and what the community kind of values. So Real Lazy, long-time mapper, been around since the Stone Ages, still mapping to this day, you know, very experienced, has adapted very well to the modern climate now that a lot more slider stuff is tolerated. So combined with the relatively new blood, Devious Panda, showcasing kind of their signature styles, which play pretty nicely. So Real Lazy's is a lot more rigid and geometrically based as far as sliders, while Panda has this kind of like smooth curve sort of stuff going on. They complement each other pretty well. In terms of gameplay, they feel quite similar, but especially in different sections of the song, they play nice. I'm actually not sure which parts were Mao's, but Mao is kind of one of those mappers that's veteran enough to kind of fill with literally anything. So I'm sure he snuck in between these two complementary mappers.
Yeah, for sure. Devious Panda and kind of Real Lazy as well, they've kind of ended up defining like their own like little stylistic niches within the tech community. Like the sort of like really super geometric style is pretty, you can tell like Real Lazy's influence from that, and then you have Pandas as well, which a lot of mappers have taken influence from as well.
Yep.
Alright, well, thank you to Mao, Devious Panda, and Real Lazy for that, and also Nafi as well. Nafi helped with the storyboard on this and the video that was used in this as well. We want to make sure to shout out her. Alright, well anyways, moving on to our second place entry. It's a map we've already seen many times by now. You know it, you love it. It's RPG.
Alright,
I'm not really sure what else we can really say about this that we haven't already said.
Yeah, we have passed go, we collect $200, we go next.
Yep. So in our first place, we have a map that was very hyped in 2021. We have Nathan and, well, it's a collab, so it's Nathan and Toybot, and it had a guest appearance by Sing as well. This is Savi's True DJ Mag Top Rankers song Zenton, Adagiri remix. And my goodness, this won the OSU Community Choice 2021, both the community and mapper portions of it. It's a very alt-heavy textile map. You've got lots of these sort of cut stream patterns in this. This is a very difficult map. It's got a very neat storyboard as well, so definitely can see why this did well in this category.
Yeah, and this is a collab between Nathan and Toybot. Nathan, but both of these mappers, you know, kind of been in the limelight for a while, and they definitely came together, executed something that for the high-level players. I remember in particular this was popularized by Vaxay's plays on his streams and such, because this gameplay-wise, this map it kind of goes. In terms of this BPM range, like 170 BPM used to be like the range where you just stay safe pretty much. You make like nice simple stuff, but 2021 kind of shows that it's like players can tolerate a lot more at this BPM range than previously imagined. And this is kind of one of those maps that really stood out in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the storyboard on this. They did a great job.
Yeah, it's a pretty tasteful storyboard. This song, though, I remember I heard it for the first time, and I was just like,
it's pretty
this was
wacky.
Stuck in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an earworm. Alright, well, thank you to Nathan, Toybot, and there was one guest appearance by Sig on this as well. We want to make sure to shout out him as well on this. So thank you to our mappers for the first place collab entry. And that actually finishes our map categories for now. We do have the grand award still, but that's going to be at the very end. So with that in mind, we can head to our user categories. And for the first category coming up, I believe we have the Outstanding Contributor category. Correct. So if we could just move to the next one. All right, in third place, we have regular Outstanding Contributor entrant Pishy Fat. Everybody knows Pishy Fat by this point. He's for his mapping videos, his involvement with the
Mappers Guild.
Mappers Guild. Thank you very much for that. On the staff side, and of course he showed up at COE very recently. He's still very heavily involved with the community, and yeah. You got anything else to say about Pishy?
Plenty. So Pishy Fat, he has kind of grown a lot in the sense of he hasn't been so much at the forefront of things. He's actually more. I believe he has like an elevated role in Osu's staff at this point, and is very behind the scenes in not just like running Mappers Guild, but also getting like licensed music and all of that stuff. So he's kind of hiding in the background, but he is he still pops his head out to let us know, like let the Mappers Guild, for example, know what artists are coming and getting together people for the showcases and the news posts that you see. So he's been kind of keeping up with that. So always good to have Pishy Fat around, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's been around for so long at this point. Like, I thought I've been in this game for a long time, but he's been in it for just about as long as well. And I just want to make a slight correction here. I know I said third place, but this is actually a tie for second place. So Pishy Fat came in second place as well as our next Outstanding Contributor. And in second place, again, we have Oli Bumby. Of course, everybody knows at this point, creator of mapping tools. Everybody uses it pretty much at this point. So many incredible tools packed into one incredible collection. I know I use it all the time as a member. I really couldn't do anything. I really couldn't live a mapping career at this point without it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just a bit mystified from what I'm seeing on screen here. Is that an auto-generated beat map where all the beat map nodes correspond to the, shadowing on the Bad Apple video?
I believe it is.
Oh my, that is, yeah. This pretty much tells the story of Oli Bumby. This guy he made mapping tools. He's made all of that. He's put in a ton of work. He knows this explains exactly it. It's like he is kind of this generation's like Naxxes, where Naxxes was kind of like really supporting the mapping community with his programming. He's the new generation for that. Props to him. Recently, finally got his well-deserved contributor badge in 2022. So props to him.
Absolutely, extremely deserved rewards for him. And alright, in first place, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only, it's Vinxus. You know him, you love him. Founder and head of Corsace. But even though that is probably most what he's known for at this point, I just want to take a moment to shout out the incredible work that Vinxus does as a BN as well. Since joining the BN, I believe in 2021, late 2021, he's pushed a lot of like older sorts of map sets forward that were just kind of stuck in the graveyard, but ended up getting basically revived thanks to him and brought forward. So that's an aspect that I really want to highlight from Vinxus.
Yeah, I honestly I don't know where I would be without Vinxis. Like he's created like a bunch of projects that I have poured thousands of hours into over the past like I don't know 6 years. In 2021 he launched a iteration of he launched Corsair's Closed, and he also had Corsair's Open 2021. Along with, it's like, obviously now we have the awards show for Mapper's Choice Awards, but yeah, he's been a mainstay in the community. I don't know where we'd be without him. So
For sure. Love you, Vinxus. Thank you for everything you do.
yep.
All right. Well, we can move on to our most promising category for 2021. And in our third place, we have, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this name, Vizjalnik Link. I'm so sorry. But, yeah, started ranking maps in 2021. Singaporean mapper, I believe. Got a very, I would say, sort of classic style of mapping, or more classic oriented. Very heavily geometric pattern jump patterns. Very proficient user of what I would call stops, where you have a 1-1 rhythm gap. You stop on a note and then you stay there for a 1-1 gap, and then you start playing a pattern again. And when people are very proficient at using those, it feels so good. Just the way it emphasizes stuff in the music. It's just a really good playing experience when people are able to do that very well.
Yeah, I agree. So, if, for example, for a while, after watching some of Pishy's, like, videos on, like, spacing, distinctions for snapping, a lot of people kind of used the 1-1 stacks, but they didn't actually correlate them with the song. They just kind of did it as, like, oh, we're just going to try to distinct 1/2 from 1-1. This is one of the songs where it works on. And a mapper can like pick this up in their first year of ranking stuff is really, really nice to see. So a lot of promise in that execution there. Hope to see more from this mapper in the future.
Yep, and he's been fairly proficient for 2022 so far, so we may see him pop up in next NCA. That's awesome if we do. So anyways, moving on to our second place person, not entry. We have 0PP in Osu, and they are a very tech-oriented mapper, using lots of unconventional slider shapes in their map. A style that's become very popular in the past few years. He looks to be a very promising creator in that category.
Yeah, so this is kind of like this style is, I'd say it's been popularized by a decent group of people, and I'd say it's like a mix between what we saw from Sharu style and Devious Panda style.
Yeah, you called it graffiti art, which I feel like is a very apt name for this sort of unconventional slider construction.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's actually like an in-between, because this one has a lot more like obvious symmetry, whereas the graffiti style kind of like seemingly avoids that. So this one's a lot more in your face about the patterning. But yeah, we'll see him here.
Absolutely. Thank you to 0PP in Osu for this wonderful map. And alright, in first place we have a mapper by the name of Saros. So I think Saros is a very interesting mapper. So he doesn't have a specific set style on his own. He likes to adapt his style to the song in question. So he doesn't like to repeat the same sort of style over and over again. And I think that's a really cool trait to see in a mapper, and especially in a new mapper. Like, normally when someone starts mapping, they focus on doing one style and trying to master that before branching out. But here, he's already trying to branch out and do a lot of different stuff. I think it's really cool, and I hope we see a lot more of him in the years to come.
Yeah, you can tell. So here's the thing: he was actually part of the, the first map we talked about. So I'm glad to see him here as well, because it's like he's already playing with the big players that have been around for quite a long time, and is able to kind of like collab with them in a way that it doesn't seem obvious that happened, which is pretty good. Yeah, the versatility is good. I remember he had a map in Corsace, in a recent Corsace Closed, which was also cool to see. His style reminds me a lot of, like, I can't help but draw parallels to some of, like, Chaos Listed stuff in some senses, but also not really. I feel like there's also some pedal mixed in here. So
yeah, he is a big fan of pedal, apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, it shows.
It also reminds me a bit of Skystar, not necessarily in the style itself, but just like in the method of experimentation, never like sticking to one thing and always trying to branch out and try new things. So I think he's got a bit of that aspect as well.
Yeah, and also connecting this in like a pretty accessible way it's a feat. It's kind of hard to branch out into a lot of things and then keep it so that a lot of people can enjoy it. So props to you, Saros.
Absolutely. Thank you, Saros, for this wonderful map, and we hope to see you way more in the years to come. All right, moving on to our next category, we have the modder category. And in third place, another perennial MCA participant is Lhasa. You may know him as winning Grand Award last year, I believe. You might have to fact check me on that, but he's won a lot in MCA over the years. He's usually pops up in this category pretty often. He is a very prolific BN, very prolific nominator. So he's definitely out there doing his part in the community to help promote maps to the ranked category. I'm glad to see Lhasa again. Lhasa, in several years ago, like Lhasa did things for the community that like were beyond like they were just like on another level, like in terms of contribution and modding proficiency and such. Lhasa these days is more chilling and just kind of like just passive, like more passively nominating stuff. So definitely reduced activities. Still very proficient. Still pushing high quality stuff. Really good to see Lhasa still involved. Yeah, for most of this year, maybe even all of it, he was part of NAT as well. So he was doing all this modding and nominating while also, doing all sorts of administrative things behind the scenes. So props to him for that. All right, moving on to our second place winner in the modding category. You've already seen him once before, it's Vinxus yet again. And I called out his BM participation when we talked about him the first time, and this category exists to highlight that again. So thank you, Vinxus, for all you do as a BN as well.
Thanks, Vinxus.
We love you, Vinxie. It's got a cool map here too.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a Rohi fan until I started seeing the maps, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, this is a Mappers Guild map, I believe. Or at least part of it. I think it's a featured artist.
It might have been on the news post, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think
the one that announced Rohi, but I'd have to be fact-checked on that one, for sure.
Yep. Anyways, thank you again, Vinxus, for being a great modder. Alright, and for our first place winner in the modding category, we have... It's AJT! With map of his Excess by Rina Sawayama in the background. Thank you for mapping that, by the way, AJT. I love this song. But yeah, AJT, great BN, focuses a lot on sort of, I would say, unconventional and older maps as well. And it's really nice to have, BNs that focus on that category that's often overlooked.
Yeah. So I don't remember if 2021 was the year he joined BN. I think it was, or maybe it was just the year that he was NAT.
I think it was kind of later in the year.
Okay, yeah. AJT, he joined with a mission. He's always liked things that were not really well represented in OSU, especially as far as songs. You can see this in his maps. He's mapping a lot of like English pop. He's mapping like cartoon openings, etc., pushing that sort of content. He has a lot of depth from being involved as a player in the tournament community and like very exposed to all kinds of different things. Came into BN and just put out, like, he was pushing everything in terms of variety. Like, if you look at his BN record, you can just see all the, like, it's hard to see, like, this guy accepts a lot of stuff. So props to him for pushing a lot of otherwise, ignored content. And in that spirit, this map set displayed has a lot of awesome difficulties as well. AJT has also participated in making sets for a lot of like amazing guest difficulties that would otherwise just not get ranked because the mapper doesn't want to make a spread. So props to that. Check out the other diffs on this set as well. Thank you, AJT, for everything.
Yep, he does a lot of great work for the community. All right, well, with that, we can move on to our next category. It is the Hitsounder category. And in third place, we have... Well... Alright, there we go. We have Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. This is the Mapper category. We're not quite to Hitsounder yet. My bad. So, in third place for the Mapper category, we have Ryusei Aika. And of course, everybody knows who Ryusei Aika is at this point. Does lots of unconventional style maps, gets lots of attention. Love to see him show up in this category in third place for Mapper.
Yeah, I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see Aika here. Aika has continued to push out also like a huge variety of content, especially lots of gimmicky stuff that it's hard to find people that can push out good quality gimmicky stuff and get it ranked on a regular basis. Thank you, Aika. That speaks to me personally for sure. So, whew.
Yeah. I just want to shout out his BN contribution as well, because despite being a very well-known mapper at this point, he's also a very well-known BN, and he does a lot of work behind the scenes nominating and modding maps as well. So thank you to Ryusei Aika for all you do to contribute to the community.
Yep. Also, just gotta say, shout out, thanks for all your contributions to the tournament scene as a prolific custom mapper.
Yep, he's really kind of everywhere. All right. So in second place for the Mapper category, we have none other than Devious Panda. This was a pop-off year for him. 2021 had one of the most famous maps of the year with Sputnik. Here we've got his Piano X Forte, another very interesting, complex rhythm map. And yeah, he really had quite a banger year. He was everywhere. He was in multiple OWC tiebreakers. He was all over the tournament scene. Just lots of great stuff from him this year.
Yeah, Devious Panda. I still remember, like, this guy was kind of like just up and coming in like 2019, 2020 or whatever, and we needed extra mappers to finish Core Stays Open 2022. He has come quite a long way. He's now like, a generation-defining mapper. We've talked about the various maps he's done and the rhythm style that he's pioneered. This is a good example of it. Probably one of his best in 2021. I think he agrees with that as well. Since I believe we asked the mapper, the winners, what
we
they
asked
like.
him. He picked this for this, and I can see why he picked it. It's very good.
Yeah, very tastefully executed, rhythm type map here. It's not a surprise to see him, but so it's just like very well deserved is what I'd say. And also prolific tournament mapper. So thank you so much for your contributions, Devious Panda.
Yeah, he also did some BN work for this year as well, although he wasn't quite as prolific in that category. So thank you to Devious Panda for all that you have done this year in mapping.
Hey, you're prolific enough to nominate one of my maps, so
True. I mean, that's what counts is, when they nominate your own map. So, all right, in first place we have, I mean, really, this can't be that unexpected. It's OLC. He really has dominated the votes this year. He's won a lot of different categories, both first place in marathon and vanilla. He had a pop-off year in 2021 for sure.
Yeah, OLC, definitely the mapper of 2021 in a lot of ways. He showed up, like I said, like Kisada said, in a lot of different categories with a lot of different types of songs, a lot of different types of concepts. Like he was kind of an idea guy for the whole year. Also putting out these ideas with very high quality. Like I feel like it wasn't until a little bit later where he actually started getting noticed and appreciated. But I'm glad that is showing up in the votes. He has brought in some crazy different types of songs, crazy ideas, and very high quality execution with that. Very knowledgeable and well thought out. Like I said, I had the pleasure of meeting this guy in the flesh and having conversations about it. So I know he takes the thinking and design on this very seriously. And it really shows. So props to you, OLC.
I think another interesting thing about him is just how rapid his rise has been in the OSU community. His first ranked map was in late 2020. And then just to come this far in the year immediately after that it's just astounding. Thank you to OLC. You're amazing.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're going to barely get to see his map here.
Yeah,
it's so sad. Boy. This map has such a long intro.
Yeah. Hope to see more from you in the future. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we can finally move on to the Hitsounder category.
Was this your favorite category or what?
I mean, I guess so, since I called it out earlier. But all right, in third place for the Hitsounder category, we have TTMNZK. We already talked a little bit about this guy because he showed up for the map Hitsounding category as well. This is the guy that did Dear My Waker. And as I said before, absolutely amazing key sounder, additive hit sounds. He does it all.
Yeah, I feel like with the quality of what I've heard from this guy's hit sounds, I feel like he's getting slept on. It's the name debuff, I swear. This guy's hit sounds are really good, especially the additive hit sounding. A special place in my heart just for that. So it's like, man, this guy's great.
Absolutely, I would agree. He is totally cracked. And I hope we see a lot more for him in the years to come. All right. Moving on, then, we can go to our second place hit sounder. And this is going to be Midori Jian? I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Midori Jian. Very good key sounder. Lots of great sample choices as well. And yeah, saw a lot of them from this year.
Yeah, I'm not actually too familiar with Midori Jian, so it's kind of nice to see. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a mapper from the Philippines as well. So not only do they hit sound and key sound maps, but they also are a mapper as well. So very interesting. I believe they're also a composer, which makes a lot of sense that they would show up as a hit sounder.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. All right, well, props to them. It's always nice to see new faces, especially in a category like hit sounding, where I feel like people kind of know hit sounders, and they're like, if they're at the last second, they're like, oh, what happened to hit sound? I'm just gonna go search up these mappers really quick. Oh, they hit sounded this, sounds amazing, great, I'm voting, right? So, to get known in that sort of field, pretty good job.
To be honest, I had never heard of this guy until like MCA started even. I'm not sure if this is like his pop-off year, but I definitely took a look at some of the maps he hits on for this year, and like I said, absolutely great key sounder. I would say shares a lot in common stylistically with Scub Domino in terms of key sounding. Very heavily piano based, and yeah, just really nice overall. We love to see it. All right, and speaking of Scub Domino, in our first place for the hit sounder category, we have Scub Domino. Of course, by this point, you all know him as an absolutely cracked key sounder. He has been around for many years, hit sounding and mapping. He really does it all. He's like the full package.
Yeah. Scub Domino, I feel like we talked about him already, right? He's a very prolific hit sounder. His background in the Black MIDI community plays into this quite a bit. Has been key sounding maps for a long time. Like, always puts out quality hit sounds. Like, you can consider yourself blessed if he offers to hit sound one of your maps. I know I certainly did. So props to you for these awesome hit sounds year after year, high effort stuff. Thank you, Scub Domino.
Well, if you want his hit sounding on your map, you can also go ahead and commission him. He does do commissions, so he is available to potentially anyone who wants some great hit sounding on their maps.
Ah, for the right price, huh?
Yeah, for the right price. Alright, thank you to Scub Domino for winning our hit sounder category yet again.
Get that bag,
he is
Scub.
the winner last year. Getting that bag. Thank you, Scub. Alright, and with that done, we have now completed our entire user category except for one award, and that is the Grand User Award, which is going to be our next category. So, for Grand User Award, in third place, we have, drumroll please, we have, Vincent.
Whoa. Okay,
Wait,
hold on. First of all, I'm shook because of this map.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's, okay, so this is it says hosted by Vinxis, but okay, so yeah, actually this is a tie. So this is a tie for third place. I forgot about this. So Vinxis tied in third place. So for our third place, we have Vinxis to start for our grand award. And of course, I mean, not enough can even be said about what Vinxis has done this year. He's been everywhere, mapping, course ace, he does it all. Thank you to Vinxis yet again. Is there anything you want to add about Mr. Vinxis?
Yeah. So, what I have to say is this map, I don't know which difficulty it is. It looks like the modification difficulty, but two different difficulties are on this set. You have the Admiration difficulty, in which he, followed a Dietz inspiration, and this one doesn't look very, very Dietz inspired, but the modification one was kind of like a, song, it's more of a concept based off of the, source material of this song, or rather, I guess the fact that it was sung in the way it was, where it's like two singers kind of alternate and then they combine at the end, and so it's like two different styles were kind of attempted in this map, and they kind of fused together at the end. So that's what Vinxis was doing with this one. It's cool to see this map. I don't remember when it was made, but long enough ago that I remember that many details about it. So props to you, Vinxis. Always just killing it with the organizing all these cool projects, making maps, making songs, pushing maps, like getting involved in like community interactions, like with some of the higher staff, like always there. Like, glad to have you, man.
He truly does it all. Thank you once again, Vinxis. Alright, and tied for third place as well, a person I spoiled because I forgot that the third place was a tie. We have AK-74, and this was a pop-off year for him as well. He of course had Ryu Seigun, which already won the Slider Tech Award in the map category, and here we get another look for him. This looks like a... oh! more of an alt style map. Still got some techie sliders, but really interesting to see as well. One thing I want to know about AK-74 that's actually interesting was he doesn't really have that many ranked map sets, actually. He had 3 map sets ranked from about 2015 to 2016, and then his next map set ranked was 2021, and it was Ryusei Gun. So very interesting for him to come back after all that time, and he did have some ranked guest diffs in that time, but to come back to ranking map sets and just immediately pop off, that is very cool to see.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like I remember like all the memes that Vinxis was making about this guy. It's like I'm about to pull up with my AK-74 and all this stuff referencing this mapper, and then it's just like we just stopped hearing about them, and then it's like 2021. It's like now they're making Ryusei Gun and winning like the tech category and all this stuff. It's kind of crazy, like especially because like when I remember them, it's like I came to know of them from a set that I knew more for the guest difficulty they had as the top diff rather than theirs. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see them, but props.
Absolutely. Thank you to AK-74. Alright, in second place. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone at this point, considering the year they've had. In second place, we have OLC, and of course, this was his pop-off year. He did it all this year, and for his reward, he gets to take home first place mapper and second place grand award.
Yeah, so we've kind of talked a decent bit about OLC, and I'd say he is known for mappers, so not too much to add. That said, it is really nice to see his 30-minute map being referenced, as one of our fellow organizers was very displeased that was not on the stream yet. So, good to see that here as well. Check that out. We definitely do not have time to show the whole thing here.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to see 15 seconds of this 30-minute map. I'm so sorry, viewers. But thank you again to OLC. Alright, and our first place for Grand Award, another guy that's been all over the place this year. It's of course the one and only Ryusei Aika. DN Mapper Extraordinaire, he does it all, and for his reward, he takes home the first place Grand Award this year. Congratulations to you, Ryusei Aika.
Oh my god, I am just like loving the fact that this is the map he chose to showcase here. This was kind of a suggestion that was like one of those like, oh, you're trolling with this suggestion, but also not really. And here it is, the beastly gimmick that I had alluded to before is all up for all display. Ryusei Aika, definitely up here, mostly for his mapping, but also has a BN career, very persistent. Despite, continually being institutionally rejected, he keeps coming back at it again to push out the huge variety of high-quality content. Thank you for everything, Ryusei Aika.
Thank you so much, Aika, for everything you do. And congratulations once again on your award for Grand User in 2021. Alright, we can get to it. It's time. It's time for the Grand Award for Map of 2021. Got 3 entries, of course. What will they be? Well, let's start off with our third place entry. It's gonna be King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, a map by OLC, Robot Stop. And we've already talked about this one a fair bit, but yeah, it's quite the map. Showed up in OWC. It's not surprising at all that it makes it here for me.
Yep, we have passed go, we collected $200, and we are ready to move on.
That we are. Thank you once again to OLC for the year you had, and congratulations on your third place Grand Award for map in 2021, Robot Stop. For second place, we have a map we've also talked about, but not talked about quite as much. It's Helia's Odo. This is a very surprising second place entry for me. I did not think this map had quite this amount of traction from mappers, but apparently it did. And I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, part of the reason I think we see this one here is, again, something I alluded to. People do not usually see like a lot of maps in this BPM range being put on a because it's hard to identify with a lot of the maps that tend to come out in this BPM range. So having a map like that a lot of people can enjoy is really nice, and this one definitely nailed it. So congratulations to Helia for winning this with Odo.
Absolutely, I could not agree more with that. Thank you once again to Helia for your great map and your second place award. Alright, we got the big one. First place, grand award. What's it gonna be? It's a map by AK-74, it's Ryu Seigun! In first place for 2021 grand award. And I mean, what can we say that already hasn't been said? Absolutely fantastic map by AK-74. Popped off very hard this year. Congratulations. You deserve it.
Yeah, so we already talked about how this is designed, so I think I want to take a little bit of time to talk about how, what this being in Grand Award as opposed to the tech category, as opposed to just tech category. I think we've had a lot of trends towards, you know, what I like to call is a lot of we're talking a lot about maps with like previews and such nowadays. I call this Twitter preview meta, but that sounds condescending, so I don't want to say it that way for this. But regardless, I think the tech style has gained a lot of popularity in that sense among mappers. So it's like the people that are like a lot of the invested mappers tend to really respect well-executed stuff in this category. That said, I think that contributes a lot here. Combine that with like crowd favorite artists, you know, Camellia having like very popular songs, even as far back as like Dreamless Wanderer, this Dreamless Wanderer Deluge in like 2015, 2016. It's just kind of like the whole package. It's like you have the styles that people want to see, you have the slot maps that people want to see, you have a mapper that's kind of a new face that's kind of throwing this all together, but gives you the similar yet different sort of vibes, and yeah, you get Ryu Seigun. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Thank you so much to AK-74 for Ryu Seigun, your 2021 NCA Grand Award winner in the mapping category. And of course, thank you to all of you for participating in the NCA, watching our stream, of course, nominating maps, voting on them. You guys are the best.
Yep, this is for the people, by the people, in that sense. So we could not do a results stream if we did not have the voters. So thank you all for voting, and please keep an eye out for NCA 2022.
Hopefully this time we will be a bit closer on time, but it's all good. We'll get there in the end.
Yep.
Anything you want to add, Slash?
I think that's all I got. Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next year.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.